So, Romanus, you know something?
What's up?
I really like M. Night Shyamalan.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Don't be.
Why?
I love his movies. I find him to be a consistently fascinating filmmaker, if not a consistently quality filmmaker.
Well, I definitely wouldn't say consistent quality.
No, not at all.
But you said fascinating.
Yeah,
Sure,
I'm always
sure,
fascinated
fine.
because I firmly believe he's one of the best concept artists that we have in the film industry right now, and he's always coming out with something new. Even though I'm a little let down that he's taken to do more adaptations lately instead of having more original stories for himself, which is usually what he's been known for. But I'm always interested to see what he's got coming out next, and now here we are at the legacy portion of his career.
Yeah. His daughter just released a movie, The Watchers.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Ishi Shimmy.
Ishi Shimmy. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we saw it last night.
We did see it last night. So,
Jeez Louise.
as always, hello everybody. This is the Loose Leaf Media Podcast, or as we like to call it, Letterblacks. I'm Davis Leaf. I'm here with my co-host.
Yo soy Romanus.
Yo soy Romanus. Yeah, well, you are. And
Thank you.
Yes.
Am I?
I hope so.
Man.
Otherwise, you might be one of those fairies.
Oh, yeah, maybe I am. Maybe
So,
I'm a watcher.
Maybe you're a watcher. But today we are here to talk about Ishana Night Shyamalan's The Watchers. Their directorial film debut just came out last night, and we saw it. And quite honestly, it was hollow garbage.
Damn. Well, right out of the gates, you're cooking.
Yeah. We had a conversation briefly about this last night, but I don't want to sit here and discredit the work of Ishana Night Shyamalan because I haven't seen the show Servant. I know her father, M. Night Shyamalan, serves as showrunner and executive producer for that show. And I've heard it's very good. It's on Apple TV Plus, and it stars Rupert Grint from Harry Potter, who plays Ron Weasley.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
That's
he was also in Knock at the Cabin, so clearly him and Mr. Shyamalan are pretty tight, which I love to see that. But I know that Ishana had directed and written several episodes of that show too, and also served as second unit director for M. Night Shyamalan's Old and Knock at the Cabin. So this is her directorial debut, and I did not care for it that much. I'm sure she put a lot of time and effort into crafting this story, but despite, the production value of it, I was finding it very difficult to see where the creativity was coming from.
Yeah, and you say production value. That's a great point. We haven't seen what the budget is yet.
No.
We both guessed like 40 to 50 million.
Somewhere along there.
But it's not a terribly looking movie. It's not. It's just dull. It's
very lifeless.
And I will say that the best thing the best thing I can say for this movie as a debut for a director is that it's so bad that it's forgettable. And so maybe the best thing to do is to just move on to the next project. But yeah, this movie, it's one of those movies where you start to ask yourself questions during the movie, and it's hard to stay immersed in the experience when every decision that each character is making you scratch your head. And it's also not as enjoyable where you just turn your brain off and you're just going for the ride. Like you can't help but ask questions.
Like when you're actually checking out like fairly early into the film and you're like, I don't think this is gonna get any better, and even if it does, it's kind of already too late. That's where it's a huge problem. And there's those films out there that are so bad it's good because of how...
Like The Happening.
Like The Happening, exactly. Because that movie's so absurd with almost everything that it does. And it like over time, it's come off as a little bit more charming than it has, disgraceful.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but okay.
I think that movie has some charm to it because of how bad it is.
Whatever you say.
I'm never gonna sit here and defend the quality of that movie, but I'll sit down anytime and have a couple of drinks and enjoy myself watching that movie.
And we said that last night. The Watchers is not a movie where it's gonna get better if you're drunk with
exactly.
friends.
That's like you said, it's forgettable, and what can also be synonymous with that is it's just boring. I was pretty bored the entire movie.
Before we continue to completely decimate this movie, I'm gonna read a summary.
Please do.
The Watchers is about a young artist who gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. This isn't one of those movies where I would feel bad for spoiling, but I'm just giving that sort of general summary.
We'll probably pretty quickly get into spoilers because, newsflash for everybody listening, I really don't like getting on this platform, and I'm not going to enjoy getting on this platform in the future and talking about a movie that I didn't care for that much. So we're probably going to keep a lot of our thoughts on this brief, but I would not really recommend this movie to anyone personally. I think that there's some people out there that could probably find some enjoyment in this, but it's very lowbrow and it's very surface level, and it poses as a horror movie, and I didn't find a single part of this movie scary. So it's clearly not for like deep horror fans, I would say, especially if you're looking to be challenged by this movie, because this movie just offered nothing.
I was challenged as far as my mental health is concerned.
I was gonna say I was challenged to get through the movie.
No, and I guess we should say we watched the movie because you're such a big Shyamalan fan you were curious,
very much so,
about how well how well his daughter's debut would be,
and just that legacy component had me curious, and
because he's executive producer on M. Night Shyamalan's executive producer for this movie, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
and
it's not the worst Shyamalan movie, though.
No, like if you rank it, that's the thing. It's like if you put this in with all the other Shyamalan films, it's not really the worst one at all.
No,
it's like just one of the more forgettable ones, I would say.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like so I wrote a couple things down for the background of this. So she was just kind of personally drawn to this book after reading it, and she went through roughly 30 drafts of the script before she landed on how she wanted, like what she was going to really start shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
30 drafts.
I know. It's like, that's not uncommon. Like, you revise constantly and you add things and then you like reframe those things. But I don't like, you did a little bit of a background check on the book and what did you figure out anything?
Yeah. So we should say that we haven't read the book. I didn't even know that the movie was adapted from a book until after watching the movie. But it does seem like after some limited research that the problems that we had with the story from the movie also it's shared with the book.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do know that there are a lot of fans of this book. It's not like Twilight, right? It's not a book that everyone's reading. It's flying off. It's not flying off the shelves or anything like that. But on Goodreads and Amazon, it's gotten some decent reviews.
Yeah, so there's some reception for it. People have read it.
Yes, but I do wonder for a book that just hasn't had a ton of critical success and followed by it's not a great horror movie, and even it has some fantasy elements, but it also doesn't really shine in that department either. I wonder who this movie was made for.
Yeah.
Other than Ishana Shyamalan.
Yeah, I mean, she like I had mentioned, it's like she was clearly very personally drawn to the book, which led to her adaptation of this, but at the same time I'm like, this seemed like a kind of like a trial run for like the do's and don'ts of filmmaking. I'm not going to sit here and say this like I could make a better movie, but I mean, I've never like really done anything to this extent in terms of like worked on screen or produced something on screen. And she's got that background of working on Servant, again, a show that I hear is very good, and it's one I've wanted to check out for a while, the show. But I'm sure a lot of those episodes that she writes and directs are probably pretty decent because of how well regarded that show is. But like now that you're kind of in the film industry and you're transitioning to like feature length films being distributed on a mass level, the lack of quality shows a lot to the point where I'm watching this movie and I'm noticing how poor the lighting is in so many scenes and how poor the pacing is.
It's, man,
because it's a short movie. It's only like an hour, just over an hour and a half, really. But
the pacing is so poor that you really don't know if it's you know, like Whiplash, are you rushing or dragging?
Exactly. And like there was a point where I thought the movie had ended, and then it just kind of kept going, and there was just like a second ending, and I was like, oh. Because part of, honestly, in part, I just kind of wanted this movie to end. Sure. So my expectations of like, okay, this has got to be where we're gonna finish this up. It's gonna be stupid, but you know, at least it's over.
There's so many parts in this movie that, like I said, you're just constantly asking questions. Like at the beginning of the movie, I will say, and even from the trailer, I kind of like the idea of just like 3-4 characters in this box in this surrounding forest, and it's dark and there's creatures watching these people. And it's called the coop that these strangers are inside, if you've seen the trailer. And it almost looks like the set to a sitcom. And so when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, maybe this movie is gonna make some sort of commentary on how we all digest media, like we're just watching
how we're consuming it and everything.
Exactly.
I'm sure there's gotta be somebody up there that like picked up on that as a theme or something, but I didn't sense that at all.
That's the thing. I don't sense much coming from this movie. I really don't know what they were trying to say or do.
Well, it's like it kind of fits into that mold of like a lot of horror movies love this like trauma drama where it's like this one character trying to overcome some sort of a like troubled past or some sort of a situation that they feel like they're responsible for or were a part of, and then the catharsis of the end of the horror movie is them in some way overcoming that trauma for themselves. And this movie kind of fits that, and it's the closest thing to a theme I feel like that this movie has. But it's like pretty much every creative decision in this movie, it's like I've seen that before in a substantially better movie.
And like I said before, those moments aren't earned because there's so many just poor decisions made by the characters that you can't really enjoy the emotional moments in the movie that that are supposed to give you maybe a sigh of relief or make you feel sorry for certain characters. You really there's a big reveal in this movie that we both really just hated.
We hated, but we also like saw it coming
a mile. Yeah, and because we like you said, we've seen moments like this in better movies.
Like this movie is anything but subtle, even though it thinks that it's being subtle.
And it's one of those things where, man, you know what? Let's just get the spoilers.
Okay, let's just talk about everything. Like I'm not really recommending this movie. I'm sure some people could enjoy it. Dakota Fanning's decent in the movie.
I think everyone's flat. The best actor in this movie is a bird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Galapagos bird, Darwin.
Darwin's the best character in this movie
because he doesn't have to speak.
Yes, good.
And because he's not like saying all of this horrible dialogue.
and he has more facial expressions than Dakota Fanning.
True,
I'm sorry.
True
like
that.
She's just, oof.
I know. Everybody's very hollow and wooden throughout this entire movie, and
I also blame it on the writing, though.
Oh, the writing is a huge component of why it just doesn't. The acting's not really working.
You're only gonna be as good as the writing.
Literally,
I feel.
like every
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, good or bad writing will make or break a film.
Yeah.
yeah, spoilers. So, we find out, we figure out pretty early into the movie that the older woman that's a part of the group of 4 that's hiding in the coop is like one of the walkers,
the
watcher,
Watchers,
whatever.
Who gives a fuck? The
one of the Watchers are like revealed to be fairies,
Yeah.
like giant fairies that used to like live in harmony amongst humans. And there's a lot of like Irish folklore that's kind of attached to the story, and the history is that I don't remember like the full extent of how they explain it, but like they basically just get condemned to live underground in this deep forest, and anybody that goes into this forest falls under their trap or their spell or whatever, and they get Blair Witch trapped into the forest and have to hide in this giant glass box and do nothing but amuse the fairies, I guess. And then it's revealed that the old woman out of the 4 is one of them, which was pretty obvious pretty early on.
Even like she's an old white woman with long, just white hair, and she's just wears a leather jacket and leather pants. You ever seen like Scooby-Doo where like they see the guy that has like a hook for a hand and he's got a scar, and so yes, this is the guy who's gonna be involved somehow with the mystery.
Literally, it's just like they look weird.
They look weird. It's like this movie. It would have been more interesting if one of the other, there's 4. So Mina's the main character played by Dakota Fanning. Then there's
Georgina Campbell from Barbarian is in this movie.
She plays Clara. Yeah. The old lady is Madeline, and then there's a guy named Daniel. I'm sorry, I don't even care about the names.
God, I hated Daniel.
Yeah, I know you
terrible.
did. And oh my, we're gonna get to Daniel. Daniel makes the dumbest decision in the movie. Because they all make one stupid decision.
Yeah, everybody gets one, but
and then. He makes the worst decision. But
so
anyway.
I usually don't like to hold poor decision making against characters in horror movies if the horror movie, like the script of the horror movie is like genuinely good and being executed really well. Especially in slashers, I tend to expect characters to not make the smartest decisions, otherwise the story won't happen.
Yeah.
In this movie, it was just not working because I'm sitting there thinking, the story could still work if the characters did not make these really bad decisions. I don't know. It was just me. It was just not working for me. Anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, it just was super obvious that Madeline, the old white woman with long white hair, is one of these Watchers. Yeah. And yet it probably would have been more interesting if one of the younger people, the other people locked inside of
something
the coop
like
were a Watcher. You know what I mean? Just anything to just divert us from what we were expecting.
Everyone was kind of dressed weird too.
It was odd.
Is it like Georgina Campbell's character looks like she was dressed from like the 1930s or something, but it takes place in modern times. And
she dances like a ballet dancer, but there's
But then, like at the ending of the movie, it's revealed where like everybody gets out of the forest, and I think what was the most unintentionally funny part of the movie to me is when Dakota Fanning goes looking for Georgina Campbell's character, and she rolls up to her house, and I'm just sitting there like, is that her house? It's like that is the nicest house I've ever seen, and the whole concept is all of these characters are like going off into the woods, and they get lost in the woods because they're like lost souls, and that's part of like how they get trapped out there. That's a part of that's like, again, it's meant to be thematic. It's dumb.
Did not get that
wasn't fleshed out.
Apparent
I know that was not fleshed out nearly enough for me to really call it a theme of the movie. It was just kind of a thing.
Sure.
But I'm just sitting there thinking, it's like, this is a nice ass house. Where are you running away from? What was your problem?
Davis and I were sitting at a bar. He was like, why the hell would you leave your house if it looks like that to go to some forest in Ireland?
It's like, what is the background of anything going on in this movie?
The main issue that we have, really I think there's two, and they're tied together. They discover that inside of the coop that there is a hatch that leads to an underground lair that is built by the professor, who was a person who built the coop and made the 3 rules. The 3 rules being that You don't go to the Watchers' holes where they're hiding underground during the daylight.
Everything stupid in this movie has to do with like a hole in the ground.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like Dakota Fanning, like let's dive into one of the Watchers' holes.
Like,
why would you do that?
You just were told that that's where these Watchers hide.
So why would you do that?
Would you go?
Like, no, like find some Find like some fire or something and throw it down there.
Sure. Or leave it the fuck alone.
Or just leave it be. But then, like you said, like it just said, it's like they find an underground layer hidden under the goddamn carpet of the coop. And now, like, all of them except Dakota Fanning have been trapped there for 6 months and not one of them discovered that.
But by this point, Dakota Fanning had been there for weeks, I think.
Because the pacing of this movie is so bad. I couldn't tell how long, like, she was supposed to be out there. Like, yeah.
But for sure, Clara, Georgina, whatever her name's character, she was there for 5 months. I think that Daniel was there for longer than Clara, and Madeline has been there forever
because she's one of the fucking fairies.
Exactly. So so really, especially for Clara, you would say, okay, you've been here for 5 months. You didn't look under the rug. You didn't go around to like bookshelves and like try to see like, hey, like let me see if this opens
this
a compartment.
Survival 101.
Where, not even like you don't even need to be taught this. It should just be instinctual. Well, even like oh my god, we're gonna get to I made a list of just dumb stuff.
All the plot holes.
And I'm gonna get to that later. But okay, so they go down this trap door, and they're doing it because they're being attacked. The coop is finally being attacked by more Watchers, so they need to escape somewhere where they're trying to get down to this mystery place. They finally get down there, and it's just a huge bunker that this professor made. And they see a computer, and on the computer are recordings of the professor, and he talks about just the history of his research, why he's interested in the Watchers, his first experiences, staying in the bunker and while, hiding in the forest and studying the Watchers. And you start to realize, how the fuck did he build this bunker in this forest where you can't escape, and the coop? Like,
it's like he's a history professor at a university, but he's got the greatest engineering skills that you can possibly imagine.
Not a civil engineer. He's not an okay, so at the beginning of the movie, when Dakota Fanning drives into the forest, right? Her car just shuts down. I guess the forest is like an infinite EMP. I don't know.
Basically, that's the impression.
And so no electronics, no phone, no nothing, right? So then she goes to the coop, and they have electricity. Okay, I think, maybe the coop is just like some magical thing. But then they get to the lair, and then the recording of the doctor, he says that he built a generator that just works.
I'm just like, that. How does the generator not affected by this magical EMP that exists in this
don't
forest?
know, man. Just there's so much. Yeah,
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. This movie gave me a headache last night. I couldn't sleep. I texted you late last night.
Yeah. What's great is that, like, right when the movie ends, I literally look over to you and I was just like, that was really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And you were just like, it was all right. You were trying to remain somewhat hopeful about it.
Well, I never want to be. We saw this movie because of you. You wanted to see this
because I love Shyamalan.
You do.
I was curious,
and I didn't want to rain on your parade, so I was like, okay, feel
free. Like, we should have just gone to Bad Boys.
I've been wanting to say that to you for the last 24 hours, and I want to tell the audience the reason why we're not doing a Bad Boys review right now is because of Davis' fault. It is Davis's fault. And you know what? Go see. We haven't even seen Bad Boys.
No, but I guarantee you, the thing is, I bet that movie, like, it could be horrible.
Yeah.
But I bet it's fun relative to this movie.
Absolutely.
Because this movie was not fun at all.
Yeah.
It had, like, no other things that helped me get through it. Thank God it was not a long movie, though. But it was like an hour and a half, but it still felt like 2 hours because the pacing was horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't like this movie.
No. I also wanted to, You know what? Can I just read the list of?
I would love to hear the list.
And then after that, we should talk about what's the state of the Shyamalan.
The Shyamalan universe.
I'll just say that last night I tried going to sleep, and there were so many questions that this movie just made me think about. I just had to just write them down on my phone, and I couldn't go to sleep until I was just sufficient with like how just fleshing out all these questions, because it's too
even
much.
If they're not getting answered.
They're never going to get answered. The first one, okay, why did Dakota Fanning leave with her bird? Like, she leaves the car with the bird going into the forest. Why did no one check for the door at the floor of the coupe just for months? That's two. If Madeline was a watcher, why did she let Daniel tie her up in the forest? Remember that scene? Like, when they're fighting in the forest?
Yeah, I guess maybe not to blow her cover.
See, but
like, she was going to eventually. Like, what's the holdup?
Fair.
And, all right, wait, was she like she was trying to get? Wait a minute.
Right?
Wait, was she trying to get out of the forest, or it's like, could she? I mean, if she was
They
already,
were just beefing. They just were like, "We're gonna starve if you don't." She was saying to Daniel, "We're gonna starve if you don't."
I think it was like she because she was also like kind of an outcast. I don't know.
Oh man,
it made no sense. But I you know what? Keep going. I don't want to think about
it. This one was basically why does the generator work in the forest? How did the professor build this huge bunker underground? Why didn't Madeline watch the professor's videos if she wanted to get out of the forest?
Oh yeah,
Like why? If she was gonna leave the forest anyway.
Good point. Yeah, that's the thing I was getting at. It's like her entire objective was she wants to get out of the forest so that she can like populate throughout the actual world or some shit because she's evil or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she could have done that at any time.
Daniel,
plus, she already knew that the bunker was there.
Exactly.
Because she was down there with the professor originally.
She hid it. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Like, why did she need to go with them?
I don't know. Daniel said that no one had seen a watcher and survived, but in the movie, Madeline talks about how she saw a watcher once that looked like her, but just had misshapen features.
But Madeline is a watcher.
Exactly. Why did no one question where did the 3 rules come from? Just like, no one's gonna like are they just gonna trust this old white lady?
Didn't Dakota Fanning's character was pretty constantly in there, right? She was the original one that was like, why do we have to follow these rules? What does she know that we don't know?
Yeah, but it just doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't.
Why did no one question Madeline's past? I feel like we've talked about that a bit.
Yeah.
Why did Daniel try to save Claire's husband if he knew that the Watchers could shapeshift?
That was like, well, this is the dumbest decision any character
That's the dumbest decision in this movie.
It's like, why did he do that? And why? Like you said this yesterday, but like it would have been more interesting and compelling if fucking Claire
if Clara,
had done it.
Yeah.
And granted, they clearly just wanted to kill off Daniel.
Yeah.
And they wanted Clara for the ending, but it's like, does it really make a difference?
No.
It doesn't. Like,
no.
Just kill off Clara and have Daniel fill her role because neither, like, her character doesn't do anything anyway.
How is Madeline a halfling if they were born in the forest? Are Watchers just...
There was like a lot of this lore that they tried to explain in like the last 10 minutes of the movie that was just kind of going over my head, and I was like, I don't get it. And I honestly don't care enough to get it.
How did the Watchers escape their prison? They like when they're leaving the forest and they see like the stone tablet where like this originally
seriously
yeah. There's no like explanation.
How did they get out of there in the first place?
How the fuck did they get out of there?
Yeah.
How did Darwin know where to guide Mina and the rest of the crew to where the boat was?
That was my first question. The minute she lets. Well, I think they did because there's this whole thing with the birds.
The birds are flying.
The birds. So I assume they just let out Darwin, and for whatever instinctual reason,
but there's
Darwin
so many.
Was just going
with
it, but I don't like. If I was Mina, I would not have trusted like the non-forest bird to
Yeah.
guide the way at that point. I would be like, if I was Darwin,
Yeah.
I would have been like, I'm just getting the fuck
I'm
out of here.
just
Fuck
get-
all y'all.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
No,
getting
yeah.
out of here. I'm not showing you the way out. I can fly, so I can leave whenever I want.
Oh, yeah.
I don't need to help y'all. You kept me in a cage this whole time, and I had to stick by you as you were terrorized by these giant monsters.
Speaking
I'm
of
out.
Speaking of flying, during the movie, it's revealed that Watchers used to have wings, but when you see the silhouettes of the Watchers, you know that they don't have wings anymore. There's some lore explaining how they lost their wings or not. Madeline grows her wings back at the end of the movie for no apparent reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. She just finds a way to relate to Mina in the last minute because Mina's got her trauma because she killed her mom.
Just fucking terrible.
There's more context to that, but like she was like in the car with her mom and they were fighting and her mom wasn't paying attention and the car crashes and she dies and then I just like the big twist really at the end for me was the fact that she has a twin sister. Because her sister's in the car, and I didn't really realize they were twins in the flashbacks, and I'm like, wait, is that another... Oh, they're twins.
Yeah.
Cool. They could have just not had them be twins, and then just have Ellie Fanning appear at the end of the movie.
Sure.
That would have just been cool, I guess.
Yeah, good for her that she wasn't in this movie.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
She dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
The ending. How did Madeline know that Mina wanted to meet with Clara? Did Madeline steal Clara's phone? Like,
I don't know.
Okay. Does that make sense
It
though?
makes
Why I'm
sense.
confused?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does make sense. It's like, I don't know.
If the Watchers could have always broken into the coop, then why didn't they do it earlier?
Yeah, what was the purpose?
I have no clue.
They're sitting there being observant, but because they're called the Watchers. But it's like, what are they watching them for? What are they gaining from this?
They never explain how Claire's husband found himself outside of the coop.
No, they don't. They just say that like he went out, like maybe looking for food or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't care.
And finally, do the Watchers just kill people or do they eat people? Because
they try to shapeshift into them. They try to morph into their likeness or whatever. Because that seemed to be the whole purpose.
At the beginning of the movie with Clara's husband, it looks like he's being like eaten. He's definitely being dragged somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's this movie.
Let's just move on.
Sure. And
we don't suggest this movie.
No.
Go see it if you want, but we didn't see Bad Boys 4, but I'm going to recommend that instead if you're going to go see something.
We would rather recommend a movie we haven't seen.
Yeah. Like just go see Furiosa again.
Yeah, why not? Go just take a walk. How about that?
Go for a nice walk. Save your money.
Get a scoop of ice cream.
Yeah.
It's going to be less than a ticket for this movie.
Stay away from the woods, I guess.
Oh, in Ireland.
There's
really no reason this movie should be in Ireland either. It's not like
it could take place be anywhere really, but I don't know. Fairies, Irish folklore, I don't know.
Well, as a fan of Shyamalan, how does this movie make you feel about his upcoming movie in a few months?
Yes, his movie Trap. I mean, I'm still very much looking forward to it because conceptually it's still very interesting. It with Shyamalan at this point, it could go either way. I don't really think that he's made like a movie that's truly impressed me at this point since Split.
Mm-hmm.
And Split was in 2016, I believe.
So 8 years ago.
Yeah, that was January of 2017. So still like it's a long ass time ago. So it's been a while since I've been truly impressed. He followed Split up with Glass, and I just rewatched Glass the other day, and I honestly think I liked it less the second time.
Mm-hmm.
I really found that movie to be extremely disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Old came out in 2021, and Old was pretty mid, not that great either. Mm-hmm. And then Knock at the Cabin released last year, and I enjoyed that one well enough, but still not really there yet in terms of like, I'm waiting for another movie that just really impresses me from Shyamalan, and I don't feel like I've gotten that since Split.
Don't hold your breath.
I'm not. Like that's why I did not like The Watchers, even though it's his daughter that made this movie. But I wasn't surprised by it, and I wouldn't say I was disappointed for that reason.
Okay.
We just went to a movie that I was curious about, and it wasn't good. So
but she's 23, and this is her first movie, and so she still has time to make her.
Yeah, I mean, she's in her,
she could have her Unbreakable.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty impressive that somebody in their mid-20s was able to direct something of this scale, and it's really not even close to the worst thing I've ever seen.
No, it's not.
It's like I don't even know if it's the worst film I've watched. I don't think it's not even the worst film I've watched this year.
Yeah,
but it's and it's definitely like if you put it in the entire Shyamalan filmography of his father's work or her father's work, it's not even the worst movie out of that bunch either. I mean, Down There still exists. You got
Avatar.
Last Airbender. Don't stop. You got to stop calling it Avatar. That ain't Avatar.
And it ain't Last Airbender either. I don't know what to call it, but it's
the mistake.
It's the mistake.
The big oops.
The big oops. Yeah.
And then The Happening. I'd still say is a worse movie than this one.
Sure.
But I would rather watch that one because it's funner. It's like more fun.
I have a few beers and then watch The Happening.
Exactly. And maybe no, this isn't better than After Earth. Even I would say, I don't even think After Earth isn't good. But you have Will Smith, so that's something.
But it's not Will Smith, right? Like it's
Will Smith just being stoic the entire movie.
Which is not a great Will Smith. I think.
Where's the charisma? That's what I need from you.
It's the pursuit of unhappiness.
The pursuit of
that's
literally with Jaden.
Yeah.
But this I like Shyamalan films quite a bit. I love The Sixth Sense. I love Unbreakable. That's my favorite movie of his. I love Signs. I love The Village. I love Split, and I love The Visit. His found footage movie he did in 2015, and that was very underrated. And I also like Stuart Little.
He did write Stuart Little.
He wrote Stuart Little.
You just told me that last night.
Everybody, I'm blowing everyone's minds with that statement because not a lot of people know that, but he is the co-writer of Stuart Little.
He should just do kids movies.
Yeah,
because I feel like I've enjoyed Stuart Little more than anything else he's made.
That's crazy.
I feel that way.
You like Stuart Little more than Unbreakable?
I would rather watch Stuart Little than Unbreakable.
That's wild.
And
there's things that I would say to you off camera,
off air, off camera,
off the mic,
off the mic.
That's wild.
I am confused by how much you love M. Night Shyamalan because I've seen quite a few of his movies too, but I feel like I've been more disappointed than impressed.
I'd say I'm about 50-50.
I'm just wondering why you're so willing to keep going to see his movies. You know what I mean?
Because he's like, there's not a lot of concept artists like him in Hollywood that's working. Like you got people like Christopher Nolan, Paul Thomas Anderson, I would say.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Yeah, those are filmmakers that I would say are like pretty strong concept artists, where they're introducing an idea to you that you've never seen on screen before.
That's true.
You've never seen play out, and even when the movie's not very good, I still think the pitch always is. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, but
it's like you pitch old to me, I'm sold. No, yeah. Sold on old.
Sold on old.
It's just like the idea of all of these people going to a beach and they discover that this beach is causing them all to age rapidly. That's interesting. I would like to see how that plays out. Even if the execution's not good, which it wasn't that great when I saw the movie, I'm already sold on that pitch. And I think that's what makes for such a good concept artist, is like you can pitch me a very simple synopsis and you sell me on that. It's like I'm interested in watching it. So
yeah, it just you bring up when you talk about Nolan and Paul Thomas Anderson, those are directors where it's not like I've liked all of their movies, but I didn't think they were bad movies, right?
Course,
like we disagree on Tenet, but I wouldn't say that Tenet is a bad movie.
Sure.
Shyamalan has made brutal movies to me, like just like I
absolutely agree.
The Happening was comedically bad.
I just think like he's,
Airbender. I'm gonna just call it Airbender.
Airbender. I mean, he's like his trajectory is fascinating to me though for that reason because he went from making some pretty incredible and highly influential movies like The Sixth Sense or Unbreakable.
Sure.
And then he had that kind of dry period where he was just pumping out crap with The Happening, The Last Airbender, After Earth, and then he started to get back on track a little bit, and with The Visit and Split, and now he's just kind of in this middle of the range part of his career where I feel like he's doing a lot more adaptations, like I had mentioned earlier, than he used to, but he hasn't fully gotten back to that full sense of originality again, and I'm really, really, really hoping that Trap is something special when that comes out in a couple months here.
I hope that we will review it.
I'm looking forward to reviewing it. We're probably going to re-continue this conversation on the Shyamalan legacy. And maybe even, like, I'll probably rewatch another one of his films. Like, I haven't seen The Sixth Sense in many, many years, so I'm curious to see how that would hold up. And you've never seen The Village.
I've never seen The Village.
Yeah, The Village is fantastic. I think that's one of my favorites of his as well. But, we'll see.
Tune in next time because Davis is a glutton for punishment, and I'm wondering what his reaction will be if The Trap is not good.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm very like I want to see.
We might have to do that. We might actually have to do that on camera so people can see like if I'm disappointed. So I just like people need to be exposed to my disappointment.
Maybe that'll be the first on camera.
We'll see. Like I'm not holding my breath whatsoever on that movie because I've learned to like manage my expectations so much with Shyamalan.
Yeah.
But I'm just like again the pitch. I'm very sold on this concept. I'd like to see how it plays out and if it surprises me. And this one is going to be original. So this will be like his first original script since Glass. So it's been like 5 years since he did something like that. And so that's also what really sells me on the concept.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we will be revisiting the Shyamalan verse and the trajectory of his career at that point. And maybe in a couple years when Ishana makes their next movie, we will review that too, and maybe I'll check out Servant before Trap just to.
Why not?
I don't know.
Who cares?
I know. We'll see. But yeah, this has been the Loose Leaf Media podcast coming at you again with another one. This is probably our first review that we've done where we were just very negative, and just unfavorable towards the film. But anybody out there that has seen M. Night Shyamalan films, send us your rankings. Let's see what you guys have to say about Shyamalan. What do you guys think? You can email us at looseleafmedia95@gmail.com. You can just put leaf pile in the subject line and leave us any of your thoughts or comments, or you can just comment on any one of the many platforms that we're now streaming on. We offer Amazon Music, Spotify still, Apple, iHeartRadio, and we're even on YouTube. So tune in next week. We're going to be getting into some pretty amazing stuff throughout the rest of the month here. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Loose Leaf Media. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.